The problem is that I spent so much of my life not wanting to be where I was, that I would go through the motions and think, this isn't good enough. I don't really want this. I bet I could do better. I wish I was somewhere else. That is the shame. We hear so many stories of people really killing it in the investment world, and it's wonderful that those stories exist and they inspire us. But I think it sets an unrealistic expectation that we will always do well, or if we're not doing as well as the stories we hear, then we're failing. And that's not true. And so what I would like to offer today is a story of someone maybe going the opposite direction and still being okay. So let's start with my story. I grew up poor, probably like many people here, but I didn't let that stop me. I had a really good time. So this is me on a bike trip through Spain with a close friend. This is me on a hiking trip. I did a lot of hiking trips. I also did a lot of hitchhiking trips. This is hitchhiking through Mexico, starting in Colorado and ending in Belize. And sometimes we just hung out. This is on an ecobiology trip in Panama. Just a lot of fun times on a really tight budget, and I decided that I wasn't going to let my lack of money prevent me from living the kind of life that I wanted to live. But eventually I reached a point where I just wanted to know, how do I stop being poor? And so I needed to find the right job. And I didn't know how people found jobs that paid them money. So I thought about it, and I thought about it, and I found a career that I knew that I could get into if I just did the right things, if I passed the right tests. And it was a career that would pay me well. It would allow me to be physically active. It wouldn't put me behind a desk. It would allow me to help people and do something different every day. And I became a firefighter. That is me and my brother, him visiting me at the fire station. Firefighting is cool. Firefighting is really fun. We did just so many interesting things that probably most people wouldn't get a chance for. But the academy process was really hard. And I didn't fit in. And it's not because I was a woman, and it's not because I was small that those things didn't help me. I didn't fit in because I mentally was different. I was a very liberal person who liked change and excitement and variety, and a land of people who really like consistency. This isn't it. I don't fit in. And this became a thought that I couldn't shake. It was in my mind, and it just stayed there. And one thought of this isn't it leads to other thoughts. I don't belong. I am wasting the best years of my life. 10 years at this point in my life is a really big deal. I want to leave Austin. I think I would be happier somewhere else. I want to be in a smaller town. I don't want to be stuck in rush hour multiple times a day. I am not using my natural skills and abilities. I am doing routine things over and over and over. I'm doing what I'm told. I'm not being creative. I'm not exploring. I'm not speaking to people. And when I am done, I will be too old to start over. And so I stayed with this job with those thoughts cycling. So I made myself a promise. I made myself a promise that I would stay for the 10 years. I would get vested. And during those 10 years, I would do my darndest to invest every penny that I earned. So this is part of my investment journey as a firefighter. This is the first house that I bought at the very end of 2014, Texas sun. This is the inside of the house now. I wish that I had more pictures. It really was lovely. The before and after process was pretty astounding. Oh yeah, this is friends helping. I don't know if you can tell, but that woman down there in the corner is the same woman up there on the ladder. That is my mom, who's here in the audience today. There was a lot of help from people I loved, and it was stressful, but it was also really fun. So I bought another one, and this is Juniper Street. Juniper Street was a very ugly house, but that was the before, and that's the after, and it's charming. So everything was going well, and I'm on my path. I'm about 5 years in, a little more than 5 years in, when 2020 hits. So 2020 begins what I'm going to refer to as my financial landslide, and I'm just going to do a quick overview of what happened. So the first was a stock market dip. We all remember the stock market dip, and that put me into a place of fear, scarcity, and panic. So prior to the 2020 craziness happening, I had decided that I wanted to ask for a leave of absence from firefighting. That doesn't happen. We don't get sabbaticals. But I had reasons. I wanted to go explore, and mostly I wanted to figure out where I wanted to live when firefighting was done. I knew that I had my eyes on the 10-year mark, and the 10-year mark was approaching, and I wanted to go figure out where I wanted to be. So I decided, can't go to New Zealand, I'm going to go to Colorado. Why not go to Colorado? And the first day in Denver, my car got stolen. Yeah.
Happened to me twice.
Watch your cars in Colorado, everybody. That's what I'm saying. So let's come back. What were the emotions? Fear, scarcity, panic. I was already feeling fear, scarcity, and panic. I don't know what's happening in the world. I don't know where we're going. Everything is unpredictable. And then my safe space is gone. So I got home from Austin after my 4 months away and feeling so ungrounded. And I decided that what was most important to me was to invest in a home. So at this point, I have 2 rental properties, but neither are in places that I want to live. Buying in Austin is expensive and buying in Austin is hard. And I decided that whatever it took, I was going to put my money into buying a place that would be my home. And this was both for the immediate. I wanted to start a family. I need a home to be the ground, the safe space. And also, if I do leave Austin, I want to be able to afford rent when I come back. This is it. 207 West Elliott Street. This is a picture from the back. I couldn't find any pictures from the front, which is a shame. But look at the inside. Look at those hardwood floors and big windows. It was the kind of house that I'd been looking for in Austin the whole time. It was built in 1940s, charming old farmhouse, a little rough around the edges, but I can work with that. The house needed more work than I was ready for. I thought, I've done 2 remodels myself, I can do another one. But I was in over my head. A friend who was in the construction industry came to see the house after I had closed on it. And I was so excited. I was like, look at this place, look at what I bought. He just looked at me and he shook his head. He said, Kimmy, I don't think you know what you just did. And I was like, well, that's not reassuring. So I needed to hire contractors. The first person I found was Eric. Eric was a really good guy and he had an amazing portfolio. He tells me he started, but he can't finish. He's like, I'm gonna wait till you get back because I just don't think you're gonna like the color. I was like, why would I not like the color of the paint that I chose? I got back, and that's what I found. Eric had sent someone who doesn't know how to use a pressure washer to try and get rid of the paint on the outside of my house. So where am I gonna get the money to fix this? I'm not gonna sell the house. I'm gonna hold it. I'm gonna double down. What am I gonna do? I have to make up for lost time. That was the thought. I have messed up so bad, I have to make up for this. And I will tell you, if you ever find yourself in a place with a lot of money where you feel like you have to make up for lost time, just stop. I must make up for these losses. So what I turned to were risky investments. And I found Donut. Oh, Donut's cool. You can earn up to 10% yield with DeFi powered investing. I wasn't investing in crypto. I was lending to somebody else who was investing in crypto. And I can't find a picture of it, but I went back and I looked. And on the website it says, Donut is safe. And I was like, that's what I want, is a safe place to put my money and earn guaranteed returns. I have lost a lot of money to a really dark place. So remember, fear, scarcity, panic. But before, it was the world is fear, scarcity, panic. And now it was me. All of that was turned inward on me. I made the bad decisions. I made the bad investments. I hired the bad contractors. I trusted the bad platform. And it became so violent and so toxic inside of my mental space. Fact number 1, I have disappeared more money than I ever thought that I would own. Fact number 2, I am okay. I am okay. And it was a long process. But let me tell you the story another way. That's me. That's me around 2021. And those are the inflation fears that are beginning. I can't trust the stock market. My money is becoming useless. And the future is unpredictable. And those lead to bigger thoughts. Did I really just spend 10 years of my life working for a pension that because of inflation is about to be meaningless? I must buy the things that I want now because I won't be able to afford them later. I must find a better way to invest. I need to make up for lost time. So as those thoughts spiral, it leads to more thoughts. None of them are pleasant. Don't waste your time trying to read it. And then that leads to more thoughts, And I was going crazy. I was stuck in my own mind with no relief, and I was deeply miserable. I was living in the house that was half finished, in the bad neighborhood with no friends nearby, and the only people that were coming to visit me were predatory contractors who were after my money. I felt so alone and so dark and so trapped with my own thoughts, and my own thoughts were not giving me comfort. So I started seeking guidance, and I made myself a promise. I made myself an agreement. My thought was, if this is life, I don't want it. If this is the point of earning a job that pays you money, and if this is what it feels like to have money, this is not for me. What I noticed going through was that my day-to-day was really not that different. So what had happened was, on the outside, in my bank accounts and in my numbers, there were the wrong kind of zeros. But in my day-to-day life, things really weren't so different. And as I showed up to my work and I went through the motions, I started to notice that my work was a safe space for me. My work was consistent and it was stable. And when I was there was a little bit of a buffer from all the bad thoughts. I had to show up, I had to perform, I had to do my job. My office became somewhere that I looked forward to being because it was a separation from the rest of the world. And it offered me a peace that I was unable to find anywhere else. So my job really helped me to feel this. Stephen Covey talks about this, and he calls it the circle of influence. Stephen Covey says that effective people focus their efforts on what they can control. And when you're a very effective person, you have a wide circle of influence. But when your thoughts look like my thoughts looked, your circle of influence is very small. And it really just surrounds you. Viktor Frankl talks about how the only thing that you can control is your ability to choose. Viktor Frankl survived the Holocaust. He had everything taken away from him. He was a psychiatrist, and he was working on a manuscript for a book, and that was his life's work. He had poured several years into this manuscript. He had 2 copies. He left 1 copy at home. He brought 1 copy with him when they picked him up to the concentration camps. The guards took his copy, tore it up, ground it on the floor, and spit on it, his life's work. They took his wife. They took his kids. He is alone and has nothing. And instead of going into a really dark place, he decides that he's going to treat this as a psychology experiment. He's going to see what he can learn from this experience of being in a situation that is so miserable and so bleak. And what he decided was that the guards could take away everything from him, but they could not take away his ability to choose how he would respond. They could not take that. And so as he continued to show up as himself, as he continued to show up optimistic when there was really nothing to be optimistic about, strange things started to happen. Not only did he befriend the other prisoners, he started befriending the guards. The guards took solace in talking to him because he brought light into a place where there was no light. I have known this for a long time, but I had never really understood because I had never needed to feel that myself. But then, what I noticed as I focused on my bubble and as I focused on what I could control, I started to be appreciative for things. The first thing that I was really appreciative for was my job. I was in such a dark space, and I needed room to figure my shit out. And my boss stood up, he went to bat, and he helped me figure out how to get the space that I needed. I'm currently in an office job. I changed my roles. I don't work on a truck anymore. He fought for me to be able to work remotely so that I could take a trip and be not in my house for a little bit. And again, no one does this. No firefighters work remotely. This is not a thing that we do. He got permission, and he came back to me. He was like, Kim, don't mess this up for the rest of us. And those were my parting words. This is what happens when you feel gratitude. When you focus on what you appreciate, it expands out. Suddenly, it wasn't just my immediate world that felt good. It extended to my outside world. The power of being able to create this bubble and focus on what happens within it is life-changing. It was life-changing for me. Come on, we just want one, just one. What I didn't know before was that feeling bad doesn't help. So what I had been taught and what I believed was that feeling bad is a natural consequence when something undesirable happens. Something Something happens that you don't like, and you make up for it, and you serve your penance by feeling bad. And the more bad you feel, kind of the more it counteracts the thing that happened. It's kind of the logic behind guilt. I'm sorry I hurt you, but don't worry. I feel really bad about it. That doesn't help. That is faulty logic. Feeling bad doesn't put you in a place to change a situation. It doesn't empower you to go back and help the person that you hurt. Feeling bad just brings everybody farther down. You can feel good at any time for any reason. The world does not need to support your emotional state. You choose, and by choosing, you change the world. At any moment, for any reason, you can choose to feel good. You can choose to feel love. You can choose to feel gratitude. You can choose to feel joy. It does not matter what is happening around you. The impact of this on my life is just incredible, incredible. I mentioned that I started feeling appreciation for my boss. I am so happy in my job. Last year, this camp last year was my very first CampFI. It obviously left a big impression on me. I've been to 2 other CampFIs before this one, and at every single CampFI, I have met someone who shared a piece of information with me that was critical to my journey. Every CampFI has left me much better than I was before I came. So there was an impact on my workspace, but there's also impact on my house. We're missing the first slide. Oh, we're about to get to it. So this is the inside. I didn't show you guys how very dumpy the house was before I bought it. It was pretty dumpy. This is the outside. Do you guys remember how ugly that was? Look, I got a white picket fence. It is a standalone house in a rough neighborhood with a white picket fence. And since I've started fixing up my house, my neighbors on both sides have started fixing up their house. We are changing the neighborhood, and these are not rental properties. These are people who have lived in really poor conditions for a very long time, and they are seeing hope that things are changing. And maybe they're fixing up the house to sell. I have no idea, but I think that they're fixing up the house for them, right? Like, I think that they're ready to start living in something a little nicer. So these are more of the insides of my house. I think it is so charming. I think it is so cute. I look forward to coming home. This place that used to be such a battery of negativity is now a place of light. It is a safe space and a comfort. And I had a real dingy room on the back. I turned it into a high-end Airbnb unit. Right now I'm using it midterm for traveling nurses, and it generates a fair amount of income for me. And so the change for me was phenomenal. And the change started with gratitude. Gratitude is where it changed. Gratitude is where things got different. All right, so what's the big lesson? The big lesson is that the shame is not that I lost a bunch of money. I mean, it is a shame. I wish that I didn't, but that's really not the problem here. The problem is that I spent so much of my life not wanting to be where I was, that I would go through the motions and think, this isn't good enough. I don't really want this. I bet I could do better. I wish I was somewhere else. That is the shame. And I told myself that I would spend whatever it took to figure out how to live differently. And so what you guys are getting is my $150,000 lesson. I hope that it suits you very well. The takeaway, how to move the flip on. This is a process that I go through as negative thoughts come up, and they still do. Things are on an upward trend, but the negative thoughts don't go away. And I suspect I'm not the only person in this room who battles negative thoughts sometimes. So this is the Kim Ehardt method to how to move the flip on. 1, remove yourself from the situation. Get away from the trigger, whatever that means. Even if you just have to go to the bathroom and get away, close the door, remove yourself. 2, complete the stress cycle. When we have thoughts that plague us, our body's going to fight or flight. Our body doesn't know that it's not really a tiger coming after us, but we are not designed to be in stress mode for a long time, and you have to figure out how to discharge. And so I think physical activity is the best way. I like running. Running is my go-to when I need to discharge the stress. If you don't like running or you're not physically active, you can do something else. You can act ferocious. You can go outside and scream. You can beat something up with a pillow. Whatever you need to do to feel like you're in charge of your body in the situation. 3, release your story. The stories that play in our mind are what hurt us so much more than the actual event. The actual event typically is small, and then the story just comes back and it hits us over and over and over. Release it. Let it go. You don't have to hold it. 4, be present. Focus on the now. Really concentrate on right now. Feel the sensations that are in your body. Be present. Whatever you need to do to be right here. This was the big one for me. This is what I didn't know that I could do or how to do. You choose better feeling thoughts. You just do. You don't need a reason. I thought that I had to think negative things because it was logical, and I'm a logical person. I'm rational. And so I'm attached to this story where I understand that bad things are part of life. Let it go. Whatever you need to tell yourself to feel better, tell yourself that. It is okay. 6, appreciate. Appreciate what you have had. Appreciate what you're learning. Appreciate where you're going to go. Anything that you can find to be glad for, do that. And then eventually, learn and grow. And this might not come right away, but find your lessons from this story and figure out how it made you better. So what's next? What's next for me? So something that's kind of a joy and a gift from my story. I have wanted to do emotional counseling with people for a long time, and I don't quite know what that means. I want to work with emotional intelligence, and I want to work with effective communication. These are the themes that are really important to me. And I haven't known how to start a platform in it. But what do you know? I've got a story now. I've got a platform, and I've got some tools that I figured out that help me that I think can help other people. And so if you're in this audience and you have an idea of how I can use this to grow into a platform or a business to help others, please come and talk to me afterwards. I would really like to hear what you have to say. The 2 questions. So the final story that I will leave you with. Author Sonia Choquette tells a story of a woman who has a near-death experience, and she meets an angel. And before sending her back to earth, the angel asks 2 things. He says, in this lifetime, what have you learned? And how have you expanded your capacity to love? We will all face challenges, and our challenges will all be different. But to me, this message is the point of life. We're here. Life is a playground for our souls to learn and to grow. The point is not to play it safe. The point is not even to end up with the most dollars when you die. The point is for your soul to experiment and grow and expand. And so my hope for you is that as you go through life and as you face challenges, that you will learn, grow, and expand your capacity for love. Thank you.